Morning. Hello there. Happy February 1st. So, today I want to talk about what are some of the foundational things about play therapy that you need to know about and know how to use in order to be an ethical and competent play therapist. So, these are foundational regardless of what your play therapy theoretical model is. If you're working with children and adolescents and you're representing yourself as a play therapist, what are some things that you really need to make sure are foundational in your skill set and your knowledge and understanding in order to provide play therapy in a way that I would add is ethical and competent. In my mind, I remember years ago, okay, so this is probably back in, I'm guessing it's back in the 1960s. I'm dating myself a little. So I remember I was a second grader. I don't know why that I remember this, but it resonated with me, and which to me kind of speaks to my values and what I think is important when doing anything. But I remember in second grade, my teacher, I think her name was Mrs. Kearns, actually. I liked her. I had a guest speaker come and she was teaching us grammar. So I don't remember anything she said about grammar, but here's the thing that I remember her saying, and it struck my brain and has been blazed into my brain circuitry. What she said was, if you're going to do something, why not do it well? Like, why do anything halfway, half measures? If you're going to do it well, do it excellent. And that has actually driven me throughout my life, sometimes in an unhelpful way. Mostly, I would say it's what helps keep me moving forward and being the best therapist I know how to be. In all honesty, drives me to be a good mom, the best mom I can be. So the key word there is that I can be. So and I think that's true for play therapy as well. If you're going to work with children and adolescents in the mental health field and you want to integrate play therapy, why do it halfway? Why not strive to be the best version of a play therapist that you know how to be? And we're not talking about perfection here. We're talking about excellence. In my mind, they can overlap, but nobody's ever going to be perfect. We never want to strive for perfection. And why not strive for excellence? Because we get into this field because we want to help others. We work with children and adolescents because we want to help children and adolescents in their mental health. So why not strive for excellence? And in my mind, that also includes in the play therapy arena, what are some of those foundations? I like to use the analogy of a house. So, anyone who's ever owned a house or known about houses or in the field of construction or real estate, you know the house needs to have a strong foundation because if the foundation is cracked, your whole structure can become unsafe. And to me, that's the same with therapy. And in this case, play therapy. Having a strong foundation in play therapy will support the work that you do, regardless of what theoretical model that you're using. And so, to me, that's what I want to talk about today. That's also one of the reasons why I do what I do right now. I've been in the mental health field 30 years now. I've been working with children, adolescents, and families since the 1980s, starting out as a special education teacher for children and adolescents. So at this point, I really enjoy giving back, helping the next generation of play therapists come along. And to me, that means helping you build a really solid foundation, helping you understand and learn how to use play therapy effectively and competently with your child and adolescent clients and families. And so one of the ways that I do that is I actually this month I'm launching my Play Therapy Academy. I've been doing supervision, aka also known as consultation, for years now. And what I did is in the Play Therapy Academy, we do the consultation piece twice a month. Also in there, I've included some courses foundational to play therapy in order to make sure that you get a really good, sturdy foundation using play therapy. I'm also making these specific courses available outside of Play Therapy Academy. So if you don't need Play Therapy Academy and you need the trainings, in this year 2023 I'm developing this whole series of courses called Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Excellence. And so I'll talk about that a little bit at the end, because the first one I have out now, it's available now. It's called Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Foundations. And to me, it covers a lot of the things that I think are really important for you to know about. Also, if you're pursuing your registered play therapy credential through the Association for Play Therapy, they say you need these, and for good reason, which is what I'm going to talk about today. Because if you want that strong foundation, this is the information and these are the things that you need to know about in order to get that strong foundation. So I'd love to see who's here. If you are joining me today, please post your name in the comments, where you're from, what population you work with, what play therapy modalities are you using. I'm Kathy Spooner. I am a licensed clinical social worker and a registered play therapist supervisor here in the United States. And I've been in the mental health field over 30 years now. So I go live every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific time here in the United States. I go live on Instagram and LinkedIn, in my Facebook group for mental health professionals using play therapy and expressive arts. And that group, if you're interested in, if you're on Facebook, the group is called Play and Expressive Arts Therapy Playground. It's for mental health professionals working with children, adolescents, and families using play therapy and expressive arts. So if that fits you and you're interested in that Facebook group, it's free. You do have to answer all of the questions, or you won't be able to get in. So I live stream on YouTube as well every week at this time, talk about all things play therapy and expressive arts. Last week in my live stream episode, I talked more about the competencies of play therapy. So if you're interested in some of the other topics like that, I'm going to touch on competencies today, but the two previous episodes, I went a little more in depth in those. So if you're interested in those, you can, if you're in my Facebook group, you can go to the featured section. I pin them in there. Otherwise, you can go over to my YouTube channel, Kathy Spooner, Renewing Hearts Consulting, and you'll find them in the live tab. You can watch them all there. So if you are joining me, go ahead and post your name in the comments. I'd love to see who's here. First thing I want to talk about is the history. Like, who cares, right? I remember, okay, full disclosure, I remember when I was pursuing my credential as an RPT, and we had to do this history thing. And I remember thinking, oh, Snoresville, man. However, when I took the course, I thought, oh, wow, this is really important. This is good stuff. And I was glad that we were required to take it, to be honest. So here's the thing about history. History, I look at it as history is the roots. History is the roots of how things came to be. I'm a social worker. I'm a licensed clinical social worker. And in graduate school, as a social worker, we had to learn all about the foundations of social work. We learned about Whole House and how Whole House came about and why, which kind of gives you an idea of where the identity, where your professional identity as a social worker comes from, and the mission of purpose of how social work came about to help marginalized people to go where no one dared go before, to use my little Star Trek metaphor there. So they went in and helped marginalized people and helped to lift them up out of difficult and kind of horrendous circumstances. And that's true. If you're a psychologist, there will be history of psychology and where that came about. If you're a counselor, there will be a history of counseling and how counseling came to be. It informs your professional identity development to understand how this profession came to be the way it is and the values of that profession. The same is true for play therapy. So in play therapy, here in the United States, through Association for Play Therapy, you have to be a licensed mental health professional. In other countries, I think they have different requirements, although I think they all do require or recognize the importance of understanding how play therapy came to be, because it informs the values of play therapy, how play therapy came about, to give some understanding of how it's been used effectively. And so understanding the history is really understanding your roots, and your roots are what ground you in the work that you're doing. So it's really important. And the other thing is, this is across all theoretical models. So all play therapy theoretical models, the roots of play therapy are still the roots of play therapy. And this kind of informs how play therapy came to be. Each theoretical model will have its own roots of how that particular theory came to be. So it kind of grounds you in the principles and the values underlying that specific theoretical model and play therapy in general. And the other thing is, it kind of shows you that play therapy has stood the test of time, because it's not just this new thing that came about in the last 2 decades. It's been around for many, many decades. And understanding the roots and the history of play therapy gives you that understanding of the where it came from, how it came to be, what worked, what didn't work, what the early play therapy professionals, leaders in the field, how they use play therapy and why, and what was effective about it, and so on. So understanding the history really does ground you in your understanding of the model that you're using. And this, to me, is what sets play therapists apart from mental health professionals who are using play in their sessions. As a play therapist, there are a whole set of competencies, including knowledge and understanding of history, that go into the work that we're doing and inform the way in which we are doing that work. So it's actually a really important part of becoming a play therapist. The other thing is understanding what the competencies are. There are core competencies in play therapy. These are core skills that are needed regardless of what theoretical model you're using. And like I said, I mentioned that in 2 of the previous live stream episodes. So if you want to go back and hear a little bit more about those, you may want to hop over to my YouTube channel in the live tab and check those out. But the thing is, it's more than just using games and toys in your sessions. It's more than pulling out art supplies. There are core skills that are needed, and these are skills that translate across all theoretical models, across all play therapy models. There are core skills that are needed, and part of that is understanding that children and adolescents are different than adults. So you're looking at some of those developmental aspects, you're looking at some of the specific skills that are required when you're working with children based on their cognitive capabilities at whatever developmental stage they're in. You're going to need to use skills differently in the sessions than you will be using with adults. And so understanding those core competencies and becoming proficient with those core skills is a really important part of play therapy. So there are core competencies across all play therapy models, theoretical models, and then each theoretical model are going to have specific skills in each of those models that you would learn. So in the Association for Play Therapy, if you're pursuing your registered play therapy credential here in the US, and I'm sure it's similar outside of the US and some of the play therapy associations outside of the US, that you want to make sure that you're learning a theoretical model. So you want to make sure you're taking trainings in those theoretical models, in addition to having an idea across all of the whatever model you're using, there are core skills. And these are things in my play therapy consultation groups. So now it's my Play Therapy Academy. These are things that we talk about in the group. And this is an important part of the learning process, is having a mentor, so to speak. And in the mental health world, we call it a consultant. If you're in the licensing process, we call it supervision. There's a mentor, a consultant who has been doing it like myself. One of the things that we do is we help you learn how to take what you're learning in your trainings and apply those in real time with your clients. And during that consultation process, you're learning how to use those core skills with your clients. And that's an important part of what sets play therapy apart from just simply pulling out toys and games. There's a whole learning and mentoring process that you go through in order to apply what you're learning in your sessions with your clients, which is one of the reasons why in Play Therapy Academy, I wanted to put some of those core foundational courses in the Play Therapy Academy program itself, is so that you're getting that knowledge and training. And then we're also making sure that you apply that in your sessions. And like I said earlier, I'm going to talk a little bit more about the series that I have. They're available in Play Therapy Academy, but if you're not in Play Therapy Academy and you don't need Play Therapy Academy, then I'm selling them outside of the program as well. And I'm going to talk a little bit about those at the end. But the next thing is, okay, so I have to do full disclosure here. I have my door closed. My husband just left for work. And so if you hear this weird digging, it is my dog digging at the door because she wants to come in. She is very persistent, my little Lily. And probably sitting behind Lily is my other dog, Luna, just like, yeah, make mom open the door. So anyways, if you hear this weird scratching sound, that is my dog. So the next thing is, I think that's really important in becoming, developing those foundational skills in play therapy. And this is true across the board in mental health. Okay, sorry, I'm gonna have to get my dog. Pardon me, I have to get my dog. Okay, so Lily, let me pull Oh, sorry, Lily is now in the room. It's my little crazy dog. And Luna is right behind me. So now that they're in the room, you may hear some crazy digging behind me. They're dogs. I don't know why they dig in the carpet. They do. They're just kind of goofy. So any strange noises behind me, those will be my dogs, Luna and Lily. So, so the other core competency or the foundational skills, which I believe these are true across the board, whatever mental health profession you're in. And I don't know if you probably other outside of social work. I remember in social work, like 30 years ago, this was a huge thing that we had to make sure to talk about, which is ethics, everybody's favorite, and culture. And these are really important to think about in play therapy as well, because they're going to show up differently in play therapy. And being able to ethically and competently use play therapy with children, adolescents, and families means we also have to understand the cultural components of the work that we do with our clients. So being aware of the way in which culture shows up in the children that you're working with. We in the mental health field have known for decades there's bias in some of the approaches and some of the ways that we conceptualize what's going on, kind of pathologizing some things that are culturally relevant, meaning this is part of the culture, and it's historically probably was viewed in a really negative way, which was detrimental to our clients, not really being respectful and understanding the way in which their culture shows up in a healthy way. So being able to support that, being able to talk about that, being aware of our own bias when we're working with families and children that are different from our own. So and I would say culture is not only ethnicity and race. Culture can be spirituality. It can be what country you're from, even Western countries, working Caucasian families that we work with, however, they're from a different culture in a Western society. So what we really want to do is make sure that we're not making assumptions, and how do we go ahead and proceed in an ethical way and in a culturally respectful way. And also helping, sometimes we have to help some of the families learn new ways of doing things that are going to be much more helpful to them, and still really being respectful of where they're coming from. And so really understanding culture and also understanding ethics in when you're working with children and adolescents. Here, Luna's sneezing behind me. When you're working with children and adolescents, you are like, who's the client? And that may depend on your discipline too, like a marriage and family. Therapists may view the family. I remember family therapy when I was in graduate school, like a million years ago. A lot of the theory models that I learned were family therapy. And in family therapy, the client is the family. So who are you defining as the client? In play therapy, we define the child as the client. That doesn't mean that we don't involve parents as active participants. There's a way in which we ethically navigate that. And that's a question I get asked a lot. I get asked a lot about that when I do consultation. I get asked a lot about that when I do different trainings, is how do you talk to parents about their child's sessions? How do you do it so that you're not um, kind of ruining the privacy of your client? And there are ways to do that, which is one of the reasons why in this course that I have now, Foundations, Play Therapy Foundations, I added a whole module about that in there because it comes up a lot. And it's a really important question to be able to figure out how you're going to answer it and how you're going to handle it. That's part of the ethics too, of how are you going to handle that. And with children, and the younger the children are, the more hands-on. So how do you maintain that, respectful therapeutic space, which would include touch? Like, children are much more hands-on. They're much closer in proximity. Some children, but not all children. Some children, they want you to stay far away. I've had kids that were like on the other side of the room, and they would do like put their hand up, and I couldn't come anywhere near them. So how do we navigate that? These are all ethical things in play therapy that we have to learn how to navigate as well. So, and those are a lot of things that we talk about in my Play Therapy Academy, but also in a lot of the trainings and the course that I have coming up, or that's out now. So that is it for today. Let me do a recap for today. First and foremost, the history is what gives roots to the play therapy work that you do. It informs the type and approach of the treatment model that you're using and how play therapy came to be. And the other thing is, foundational to play therapy is really getting knowledgeable and skilled about core competencies in play therapy. What are the core skills that you need as a play therapist in general? And what are the core skills of the theoretical model or models that you're using to ensure that you're using it the way it is supposed to be used, you're using it effectively? And then the third thing is foundational to mental health in general and play therapy. And the way that we navigate that in play therapy looks different than the way that we navigate it when you're working with adults. So understanding the ethical things that you have to navigate through with your ethical decision making, and understanding the role in which culture shows up in the work that you're doing. And how do you navigate that? Because children come with families, and those families have a culture to them. And how do you navigate that effectively with your clients is really, really important. And also recognizing your own biases and then making sure that you address those appropriately. So that is it for today. And like I said, I go live every Wednesday at 7 a.m. Pacific time here in the United States, talking about all things play therapy and expressive arts. Hey, Sherry, I see that you are on Instagram today. So I did want to let you know I have some courses coming up. Like I mentioned earlier, they're called it's a whole series, Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Excellence. So the one that's available now is called Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Foundations. And that's the one that talks about a lot of the history of play therapy. What are the core skills? What sets play therapy apart from other modalities? How do you talk to parents? How do you set up your playroom? That one, I get asked that one a lot. So those are all different modules to give you a really solid foundation to build on and to get you grounded when you're using a play therapy model. And so that one is available if you're interested in that course. It's self-paced, so you can take it in your own time zone when it's convenient for you. It's got 4 play therapy CEs with it. They are non-contact. And then I have another one coming out. It's probably going to come out at the end of February, beginning of March. It's getting grounded in case conceptualization and play therapy. So really, how do you do that? Bringing together of all of the clinical information. How are you conceptualizing what the problems are, and using that to inform your decision making and your treatment planning. So that one's coming out next. The Getting Grounded in Play Therapy Foundations is available now. If you're interested in that course, you can hop over to my website at rrhcounseling.com/courses. You can see I have another self-paced course on there, Expressive Arts in Play Therapy with Adolescents. That one is really good too if you work with adolescents and you like using different expressive arts. If you're interested in Play Therapy Academy, then I do have information about that on my website. You want to go over to my website at rrhcounseling.com/supervision, and you can see information about Play Therapy Academy. And if you are interested in Play Therapy Academy, then there's a link you can click on to schedule a free meeting with me, 30 minutes, and we can talk about it and see if it's a good fit for you. All right, I will see you next time. Bye for now.